guys, how's it going? All right, I finished cutting up all of those are gift boxes. Actually wound up with 16. I mean, I'm assuming that, you know, maybe you watched my previous video where I was making some little notebooks and upcycling, repurposing some stuff. And, you know, what I like to do is just kind of cut up things that I want to use in future projects and just kind of have them ready to actually use. And so I was really inspired by these little guys. These were gift boxes. I picked up a package of them at the thrift store, and I think there was 4 complete boxes. So two pieces per set. So I cut them all up and I wound up with 16 pieces that were this shape, which I thought would be really cool to use to make a little notebook. And I had a customer, or I'm not a customer, might be a customer, I don't know, but I had a comment on that video. Someone suggested that this would be great to make like a list journal. So that's what I thought I would do. And I made one that I thought, you know, this was sort of like my prototype and kind of playing around. And I kind of like the way it turned out. There's a gazillion options of, you know, different things you could do to put these together. Since I don't journal and I don't make lists, well, I mean, sometimes I do, but I don't know, maybe I'll start making lists. Maybe I'll actually get organized one day. I'm also trying to go through filing cabinet drawers and stash boxes, trying to clear out stuff that I've, you know, been putting away for, you know, because I don't want to throw it away. And so I went through a couple of stashes of paper and thinking in my mind, lined papers or blank paper. So I'm not using any book pages that have writing on them or images or anything like that. So all of the paper that I'm using in these is just intended for writing on. Most of it is vintage, you know, book pages that are blank, like the flyleaf pages or just blank pages from inside books. There's some ledger pages that may have a tiny bit of writing on them, but not a ton. Okay, so just, you know, just a little tiny bit, and I sort of like that anyways. And then, you know, I have a whole box full of just these pages, you know. So some of them I trimmed to get rid of the rough edge, but some not. And because I kind of like leaving some of that there. And if there's just a little tiny bit of writing on a page, that's totally fine. That doesn't bother me at all. And I don't think it would bother somebody who is trying to make a list for the grocery store either. So anyway, so I have this pile of paper. Some of them are, yeah, so just like some lined papers. These are pages that are actually printed, but, you know, they just didn't get used in a journal or something like that. So, you know, some white, some are like a cream color. And then just a few of these from, you know, accounting type books. So that's kind of like, if you want to try to make something like this, I guess, and I don't know, work along or whatever, I would say some gift boxes would be great. And when I should have, I don't know, I should have waited to cut them apart, but you know, you wind up with, especially if it's intended to be a relatively tall box, then you wind up with these type of pieces. If you just cut the edges off on one side, and then the other side, you wind up with this section. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. Like, you could use any gift box and just score it and make this type of shape, you know, especially like after Christmas. I think this would be really cool to repurpose some of the gift boxes that you get that our, you know, Christmas patterns or whatever, and, you know, use those for next year for Christmas lists and things like that. Or, you know what, even at the dollar store, there's tons of gift boxes that are for sale right now. Anyways, so that's where I'm at. So I've got 16, not counting, well, counting this one that I already did. So I'm going to make those up, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I might put them in my shop. Who knows? So then I wound up with some other scraps. So these are just like some pieces that have that pattern on them that I hung on to. I did actually, I tossed some of them, and I feel like I feel bad for doing that. But I had a couple of people suggest making tickets out of those. So I have an idea to do that. And then these are the other pieces that I cut off of the sides of the boxes. Okay, so this is just a ton of that pattern that I don't want to go to waste. And so the glue obviously wasn't that great on these, or else they're super old. I don't know. Anyway, so I thought I'm going to make some pockets with those pieces. And so that's how these came about. There's a pocket on the inside, front and back cover. So that's part of it. And then, you know, the rest of it is just kind of like doodads and, you know, just decorative stuff, functional. I'm also going to do a like a string closure. I guess you've seen me screwing around with it, but I'll show you how I do that too. And like I said, there's tons of options, lots and lots of different ways that you could put these together. I'm just going to kind of show you what I did, and I'll talk about some other options too. So first thing I want to do is make the pockets, because I've already got my covers basically already made, right? So these are, I'm so bad at remembering to measure things. So these are a little less than 3.5 inches wide when they're folded. And so that means that they are 6 3/4 wide when you open it up. So I cut all my pages to 6.5 inches wide. And then the height on this particular one is 7 3/4. So I cut my pages to 7.5 because I like there to be a little bit of a leeway, you know. So 7.5 by 6.5 is what I cut my pages to, because this is a 1/4 inch larger than that in both directions. So that means that 1/2. So I want to make sure that when I cut these pockets that I don't make them more than 3.5 inches wide. And a lot of these little pieces are perfect for that. So yeah, because this is only like 2 3/4. So I'm just going to cut this in half. What is the total length on it? 7 3/4. So let's just go. I mean, they don't even have to be exactly matching. This has that little kind of weird little notch on it right there. I'm going to round the corners on these, but I'm actually going to trim that just a tiny bit because I feel like that's going to be awkward. So there. Okay. So there's my 2 pockets. And then the bottoms of the box wound up with part of a barcode on it. And then some of them actually had like this little, I don't know, kind of like branding. So I want to cover that up. And, you know, I mean, there's lots of different things that you could use to do that. I chose to just use a little bit of fabric and just a couple little scraps of fabric. And I just layered them on there. You know, you could use a piece of ribbon or a doily or, you know, anything like that. And I'm not going to be super picky about colors. I'm just adding 3 little little hex shapes. Okay, I think I'm done with that for the time being. So to get these on here, I'm just going to tack them down temporarily with glue stick. This is not intended to hold it on there forever. It's just until I can stitch it on the sewing machine. Okay. So I'm going to cut those off on the edge because I don't really want to wrap it around on the inside. And then I can use these on another one. Okay, so I've got that little piece to cover up that barcode. And then I'm just going to run that through the sewing machine real quick. So, you know, for me, I would be doing all of these all the same process to each one all at the same time. So I would, you know, I would be gluing fabric on all of these covers all at once instead of, you know, just one at a time. So I like the idea of just doing a simple zigzag on that just to tack it down. All right. So there's that. And then for the pockets, they're going to go in here like this, right? So I want to round, I'm going to use the 1/2 inch side of this. And then I'm going to round the corners on the book too. So I'm rounding this corner that goes at the bottom and that corner at the top. So I want to make sure that I do the same thing on, you know, that I'm rounding the correct corners on each side. Okay, so this one goes there. And then just to be sure that I line this up right, I'm going to go ahead and just round the corners on the cover now. You could line this with something like, you know, some coffee dyed paper or some kind of gift wrap or, you know, anything. You could totally decorate these any way you wanted, right? Okay, so it goes like that. And then pull out this handy dandy art glitter glue, which does hold really, really well. And it's nice for doing a super precise little thin line of glue where you don't want. So this glue that's on the back of this, it kind of sticks up just a little bit, like, but it really just kind of chips off easily. So I'm just kind of flicking off any of it that's loose. Actually use a nail file and just kind of sand it down a little bit so that any of the loose pieces come off and then it's smooth, because I'm going to be, you know, you're going to be sticking papers and stuff in there. So, okay, so I'm going to make sure that we're doing this on the right edges. Hope you guys can see this okay. So we're just right along the very edge. So this is going to get stitched also on the sewing machine. So I just want to line that up. Make sure it's not sticking out on the front. Okay. And then this one will be, this one doesn't really have much glue on it at all. Okay. Okay, so there's little pockets. Make sure that's like stuck down. You don't even necessarily have to stitch around this, but I don't know, I kind of like the way it looks. So it's just for, this glue honestly does hold pretty well. So, you know, you could actually just stitch around the pockets if you were concerned about that, or I also thought it would be kind of cool to just put an eyelet on there and there, just to be sure that, because these are like the stress points where if it's going to come loose, it's going to come loose there or there, right? But if you stuck an eyelet in there, that would hold it down for sure. But, you know, I don't necessarily want to do that on these. Okay, so I'm going to stitch around the whole outside of this with a straight stitch. Obviously, you know, I would want the glue to dry before I went just willy-nilly. Oh, and I'm going to stitch this on the outside, okay? Because I want the bobbin thread on the inside, not on the outside of the journal. Sort of went off there a little bit. It's not a huge deal. It's because I have the sewing machine at a weird angle. Okay. So there we go. Stitched all the way around the outside. And then, you know, it's just a matter of assembling whatever pages you want to use, right? So I'm just gonna, because normally what I would do is I would deal out piles, right, of what is going to go in each journal. So I'd say, like, you know, depending on how you're going to put this together, if you're going to actually stitch it together on the sewing machine all the way through the cover, you know, you don't want to use too many pages. What I did on this one is I did it sort of like Midori style, where it's actually put in with elastic. So this is removable. Okay. So, but I did stitch that together on my sewing machine. So, you know, it just kind of depends on what you want to do. So this is 12 pages. No, it's 13 pages. 13 papers. So it winds up 26 actual pages. So what is that? What's 26 times 50, 52, you know, sides, you know. So anyways, that's a consideration. Just think about how thick your papers are and what your sewing machine can handle if you're going to be stitching it on the machine, or, you know, you could also just stitch it together using a needle and some like wax cotton or something. So some of these pages I know are a little bit too wide, and I did that on purpose. So I'm just folding it kind of off center and then folding in like a little flip out, right? And I'll grab another one that would be like that. I'm not really measuring this. I just, you know, I'm kind of estimating. Okay. And let's see, some ledger papers. Let's use one of these with a little tab. I wanted to make sure I got one of those in each book. That one. Let's use that. Okay, so how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that's 12 pages. Let's grab this one too. We'll use that one. Okay, let me get this pile of paper out of the way. All right, so I'm going to fold everything up. And yeah, some of them are going to be tall, skinny pages. Some are going to be short pages that, you know, you can flip out. And some will be just the right size, you know. So this one I know is cut to the actual size of the book, right? Yeah. This one is going to be wide. So I'm folding it narrow, and then this will be another flip out page, a tall flip out page. So since I'm rounding the corners on the journal cover, I'm going to want to round the corners on any of the pages that are going to be visible, like right here at the corner, right? So I'll do that after I assemble the signature though. I don't want to just round all the corners. I only want to round the corners on the pages that are visible. And that's just me. I mean, you might want to just go ahead and round all the corners on yours, but I just want to do it on those ones that are going to be visible. So I wound up with a lot more lined paper than plain paper. So, but I'm still going to use my little method of kind of collating pages. And so I'm going to do one plain, and then I'm going to do 2 lined. One plain, 2 lined. Let's see how that works out. And that, that. Okay. I actually want to have this page as my first page in the book. Okay, so that goes on the top. And then I flip it over, and then I just open them up so they're just kind of like, you know, like a little house or whatever on the desk. And I'm stacking them. I'm alternating them, stacking them at different heights so that they don't all wind up in the same position. And I have a little bit of like randomness to the way that the pages are organized in the journal. Okay, and then I'm going to take my cover, place it over the top, and then just kind of scooch everything together. All right. So see how some of them stick out over the corners, and those I'll just round off after I bind it together. Okay, so there's my signature, and I'm gonna stitch this on the sewing machine. Actually, no, this one, I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and stitch it with wax cotton through the cover. I decided that's what I was going to do on this one. So I'll just use my handy little, this is fun foam. It's 3 layers of real thick fun foam that I glued together with hot glue. So I'm just using some, this is waxed cotton thread. And a nice kind of large eye needle. Thread this, and I think what I'll do is double this, because I want there to be the opportunity to add like charms and stuff on the strings that are sticking, you know, that are going to be on the spine. Okay, so that might be a little short, but that's okay. It's not too bad. All right, so when I do this, I don't measure this. I'm just gonna, I'm holding everything tight. I got it, you know. It's just my way. And so I'm gonna do this with 2 holes. There's one. So I'm still holding it down on the foam, and then I take that all out and I stick the needle in. And the needle is holding it all in place. Okay, and then again, just kind of looking at how far I went up with that hole, and I'm just, you know, sort of eyeballing that to make sure it's basically the same. If it's not exactly the same, it's not a huge deal, right? Okay. So there's that. And then I'll just tie this. One thing that's nice about the wax cotton is that it's easy to knot. Yeah, see, this is why I said it was a little short. It makes it a little bit more difficult to tie. But not a big deal. Okay. So there. And I like how that looks. And then I will round these corners, use the 1/2 inch. Sometimes this thing does not bite thinner paper very well. It does really, really good on cardstock, but okay, there. And then, you know, it looks really clean from the outside. Okay, so this is where there's a gazillion options, right? When it comes to like a closure. I will show you what I did on this one so that if you like this look and this type of closure, you could just, you know, repeat this. I thought it would be cool to do a magnetic closure, just like with a strip of paper covered with fabric. And then I thought it would be kind of cool to use a little metal washer, like sandwiched in between paper or fabric, that would just, you know, stick onto that magnet. And that would give it a little bit of leeway as far as growth. So like if the journal got a little fat, this would still, you know, it would give you like that much width for it to actually hit the magnet, you know. I don't know. That's hard for me to explain. But okay, so let's just do this closure. So what I did was I want to make, okay, first of all, I want my eyelet for that round paper. This is a 1-inch circle. It's a 1-inch circle. I have a whole bunch of these already cut out. So this is just a 1-inch circle of heavy craft paper. It's real thick cardstock, so it's pretty sturdy. If you don't have that, this is that cardstock you can get from Hobby Lobby. That's really, it's really thick. So what I like to do is kind of soften it a little bit, because that just makes it a little bit easier to wrap your string around it. You know, if it's real stiff, then it's kind of awkward to wrap the string around for the first few times. But I like to sort of just soften it a little, and maybe even, you know, just kind of distress it a little bit. Okay, that's just kind of what I do. So I don't want to put this through my pocket, so I'm going to punch my hole from the inside, and I'm making it as far in as this thing will go, right above the pocket. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the back. This is why it's good to make sure that your pockets are the same height, because you're going to be using them to measure this also. And that just ensures that, you know, those two holes are at the same height. So tricky, huh? Okay, and then where's my eyelets? All right, so then the other thing that is sometimes an issue is, well, it's the same issue, where you want there to be a little bit of a lift here so that, you know, that string will go underneath and not, oh, there it is. Okay. So it's not hard to get the string to wrap around. This is another thing that I do sometimes. I didn't do it on that one, but because I forgot. But if you punch out some small circles of craft paper or any kind of thick paper. So I got 2 pieces of craft paper here. This is, it's actually kind of thin. But what I'm going to do is punch a hole, the same size hole, in the center of these. Okay, and then when I put my eyelet through this one, I'm also going to put it through these 2 smaller ones. And that's going to give me just a little bit of a gap between the cover of the journal and this large circle. And then it's also going to give you a little bit of a grip so that your string will sort of grip in between those. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that goes on there like that. I've got my 3 pieces of paper on the cover and grip it down. Okay, so you can see it, like it does give you a tiny bit of a little gap. I don't know if you can see. You know what I'm saying. Okay, and then I'm just throwing stuff around. Okay, and then this is mostly just to ensure that the string stays held down, but you don't necessarily have to use this on the back. I just kind of wanted to because I like the way it looks, but you could just put an eyelet in there and make it more like close to the edge of the journal, and then just loop your string through that if you wanted to do that instead. I like to make things complicated sometimes. Anyway, so here's what I'm going to do. This is what I did on the other one. So I take the eyelet, put it, well, wait a second. Wait. Okay. Sorry. All right. So I'm just going to take this string and sort of lay it on there, sort of close to the hole. And then I want the string underneath that paper. Kind of snug it down to where the eyelet is, holding it in place. There we go. Okay, so I know that it's really close to the eyelet because I'm going to use that partially to hold the string in place. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap it around. I wrap the short end once that way and the long end once that way. And then I'm going to tie this into a real simple, just like a square knot. And I'm using pretty thin baker's twine. This isn't the like heavy duty baker's twine. I think I got this at Hobby Lobby around Christmas time last year, a couple years ago. So then I'm just cutting off the short piece. Okay. So I just have that one string, and I know that that's really sturdy. All right. This string is way longer than I needed. You could actually double this if you wanted to, if you're not comfortable with just that real skinny little thread, but I kind of like the way it looks. So then, see, it's real easy to get the string to wrap around that paper like that because of that little gap. And then that extra piece of paper that I stuck in there actually gives it like a grip. It kind of like the string slips in between those you know, extra pieces of paper in there and just holds it. I mean, you don't even have to really loop it around more than once. If you just tug it a little bit, it locks it down, and it's pretty sturdy. So, okay. And so I'm just gonna, well, because it's so long, it's irritating me. I just want to add like a little button or something on there, just to give it something. And I like to use buttons like this. So this is like a round, it looks like a bell, but it's not. Like a shank button works really good for this, I think. Whoops. Of course, it's going to give me a hard time. Oh, God. Hold on. Hold the phone. I don't know if this is going to go through or not. I know. There's lots and lots of ways to get string through buttons, right? I'm just not prepared with any of those methods at the moment. Okay, there. Okay, and then I'm just going to tie this. I don't want it super long. That looks about right. Did you guys notice I took my rings off? Did anybody notice? Sometimes I do. I like to just, I don't know, every once in a while I'll take them off and leave them off for a couple weeks. Okay, so just got a little button on there. A Christmas bell would be really cute. So there, and then it just, that's wrapped around twice, and the you know, thing is right there. So then, of course, I like to add an eyelet. I'm going to go back to the larger size. This isn't too bad, 36 minutes so far. I want to add a big eyelet right here because that's what I do. I guess that's what I decided I do. How about a silver one? And then I guess this is just all decorative stuff, but I suppose people like to see that stuff too, right? So then I just put a jump ring on there. I don't like to use the bulb pins in this particular, you know, situation because they just don't lay flat. Anyways, I like to use jump ring first. And then let's just add another little dice. Happen to have some red bulb pins. So this is my way of being Christmassy, I guess, without really being Christmassy. This is kind of Christmassy, I guess, this little journal. So it just has a little charm on it. And then, you know, I'll paper clip some extra little pieces of paper and stuff into this. And, you know, I could even slip a little envelope in the center of that, like using the flap, and then glue the envelope shut just to make a pocket on the inside. But yeah, I thought these turned out really cute. And then I don't know if you guys have seen these, but this is the little Tonic Studios perforator, paper perforator. And I looked online to see what it would cost to buy like 20 of these, you know, and I thought I could, you know, add one of these to each journal, but they're kind of expensive. They're like $6-7 a piece for me to buy that many. But I wanted you guys to see these because they're really cool. You get a loop. It comes with a loop. And I thought, you know what, if you could actually hang this somewhere on your journal, and then, you know, as you use your journal, like say you want to, like you're just using it for lists, you could just run this perforator along there and tear pages out real easily without actually removing both sides. You know what I mean? Like if you run it right there, it wouldn't destroy the integrity of the page on the other side. So I don't know. I just thought these were kind of cool. And I forgot about it, that I had it. So, but I wanted to show you this. And then it's got that little loop and it folds up, you know, super cute. It'd be cool to put on your keychain. So anyways, yeah, this is my little repurposed gift box notebook. Okay. All right, you guys, I'll let you go. I love you. Take care. Bye for now.